changing my hair color, maybe like a light brown. What do you think?
Like, why are you gonna do that?
Guys are weird. Just, you know, for a change. Tired of being a boy.
Oh, hey, what's wrong with you? Go on, just get out of here.
We have all been in situations we haven't encountered before and don't understand. We don't know what to say or what to do. This uncomfortable feeling is natural, and if we are bystanders, it's okay. However, if we are in a role in which we serve the public, our stake in the situation just went up. For instance, if a police officer sees a situation, the officer is likely to react as trained. However, if the officer attempts to subdue this individual, it will only make the situation worse. What the officer does not realize is that the subject has autism, and physical restraint will only aggravate the situation and may result in physical harm for the subject. Persons with autism perceive and experience things differently than we do. What is benign for us might be very distressing and threatening for someone with autism.
Autism is a spectrum disorder. There's ranges of autism in terms of someone who may present as severely autistic and others that may present as mildly autistic.
Autism is part of a category of disabilities that are characterized by weaknesses in social interaction, communication, and behavior.
Each individual is an individual, so according to the spectrum, or if you're looking at a spectrum, very rarely are there ever any of the same presentations.
Contrary to what people might think, autism is not one disorder. So there's a whole range of severity and number of symptoms.
Many outsiders see out-of-control children and assume that the parents are not doing their jobs, that they need to get their child under control. To some, a child with autism may appear to be an unruly child. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. The parents are not responsible for their child having autism, just like parents have no control if their child is blind or has heart disease. Mood and behavior problems are symptoms of autism. They are not the child's or parent's fault. In most cases, autism is genetically determined and it's associated with some neurological disorders. We also know that autism strikes 1 out of every 150 persons from all walks of life, all races, and all religions.
We knew very early on that there was something different about Samantha, but we weren't sure what it was.
You don't want to jump anymore? Why?
I want to take a picture.
You want to take a picture?
Right now.
What are you trying to say, Samantha?
Take a picture of me.
I am taking your picture. I'm taking your picture right now.
Please.
What's the matter?
Jeez. Jeez.
Why are you being fussy?
I don't want to be sad. I don't want to be happy that.
Think about it. 1 in every 150 persons has autism. That's an epidemic. That means that we're all likely to come in contact with someone who has autism or cares for someone with autism. Don't worry, you're not going to catch it. It's not contagious and it's not learned. There's no reason to fear or avoid someone with autism. However, we all need to know how to recognize if someone might have autism and what we can do.
Symptoms of autism that people might show might include poor eye contact, not really looking at someone to either regulate interaction with them or kind of figuring out what they're thinking. And that comes from what's called theory of mind, where that is a big weakness that people with autism have. They don't necessarily care or understand what the other person is thinking or reacting to what they're saying.
The ability to take in information, process it, and give it back in a consistent way are some of the core areas or deficit areas.
Someone who has autism may not like to be around people. They may not relate or show affection to their family or to peers. They also have problems playing with other people, and as you're evolving to an adult, that may translate to not being more of a loner and doing better at jobs in which it's just them working on their own.
Other signs to look for are limited social interaction, obsessive and restricted interests, inability to tolerate change, difficulty communicating, sensitivity to noise and touch, repetitive movements such as hand flapping or toe walking, and temper tantrums over very minor things.
It's something that we need to talk about. Put a muzzle over my mouth before I call you a bad name, and I don't know what it'll be. It might be, I don't know what it'll be. It's gonna be, I don't know what it's gonna be, but it's gonna be a bad name. Just cover my mouth.
There was a day and age where autism, people thought if you were autistic, you were psychotic, or you had that somehow autism caused mental illness. And that was a belief. They were often housed in psychiatric facilities, seen as schizophrenic. And they were treated with a variety of restrictive and punitive interventions. The literature tells us from the 60s and 70s, everything from psychosurgeries, cingulotomies, lobotomies. They have been exposed to aromatic ammonia programs, contingent electric shock. These are studies that were done. We are 180 degrees, fortunately, away from all of those interventions. We're using positive reinforcements. We're understanding the individual. We understand them as a person first. What is that I need to know about you? I know what the behaviors are. I know what these issues that you have, but let me know, I want to know a little bit more about you before we do anything.
Education and training is probably the most important factor of helping them to improve. So in young children, early intervention or other preschool programs that give them support for language and adaptive skills and how to master some of the academic challenges is helpful.
Integrating a student with autism into a traditional classroom can be difficult because of the child's social, behavioral, sensory, and communication problems. Many children with autism need accommodations in order to function successfully in school. When educators make adaptations to meet the child's special needs, the results can be astounding.
What we're doing is lots of individual, direct instruction with these kids, starting at the very lowest level of imitation of language sounds to the point where we build a repertoire of words and signs and use of symbols in terms of writing for the kids who have that level of ability to be able to actually functionally communicate with the rest of the world. If they can't use language, we teach them signs. If they can't use signs, we use a visual representation of the objects so that we get them to understand that communication has power and that they can use their communication skills to gain access to what it is they need and want.
Something that floats on the water is a boat. That's right. What floats on the water? A boat. Good job.
We need to realize that a person with autism does not interpret and respond to the world as most of us do. Individuals with autism cannot tolerate change and new situations or certain noises or touches. They may have difficulty comprehending what is said to them and problems communicating and expressing their thoughts. Things that are minor issues for most of us might totally disrupt the life of an individual with autism.
I would hope that people in the community would start to be more aware of, since autism is in the news a lot more, is before you leap to think that someone has bad behavior, that maybe they have a developmental disability, and part of their developmental disability is the behavior difficulties.
We don't get to go out to restaurants or to the movies that much because of Tatum's autism. And mainly isolation is the result for many families, because you don't want anyone looking at your child funny or giving you mean glances or judging you and saying you're a bad parent or your child's bad, why can't you control that child? Because they don't understand the behaviors associated with autism.
Many people believe that autism is a childhood disorder. This simply is not true. People do not outgrow autism, and there is no cure. Children with autism will become adults with autism. Think about that for a moment. Most children outlive their parents. So what happens to children with autism when they become adults and no longer have their parents to care for them? We must all do our best to understand this disorder so that we can be better equipped when we face it.
The issue that's going to hit us at some point in time, it's hitting us now, when the kids leave school, age 21, some of them, even 18. When that stops, their support systems are gone. So as they grow older, there's a lot of things that we need to do as a society in terms of understanding them, first of all. Having jobs available for them when they do get out of school. Real jobs, real pay, not volunteer work, but these are very capable people.
And he is really good with numbers and organizing things. So one of the first things that they did with him is get him into the library, and they taught him how to organize the books. And so at that point he became very good at the Dewey Decimal System that a lot of people don't understand. But he just, he really understood that. As he became more skilled in what he did, they tried some other outside opportunities for him.
I really didn't know much about autism before I met Mark. I've learned a lot in how to communicate with Mark and how to communicate with a person with autism because of Mark. He definitely takes pride in his work. He takes pride in that he's here and is contributing something to a bigger piece of a pie. And he definitely has filled a void for us. So at the time that we had a need for someone to do some meticulous filing that would take a long time, he was presented to us, and he fills that void.
As a mother and a mother of a child with autism, I would just ask that folks be more accepting and not jump to conclusions and think that, you know, what you're seeing is a product of, you know, bad child rearing. Autism is what it is, and just be more accepting of that behavior wherever you happen to be.
Fortunately, our government and schools recognize that autism is an epidemic, and they've taken steps to help. However, this alone is not enough. We must all take ownership and know how to act in situations involving someone with autism. Take the time, think before you act, and most important, be appreciative of individual differences and understand what persons with autism and their families are going through.